All right, we are ready to go.
Okay, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome you to the regular session of the Milwaukie Planning Commission. Before we get started into the published agenda, I would like to make a couple of remarks here that are off of not on the agenda. As some of you are aware, our planning director, Denny Egner, is retiring soon, and this, in fact, will be his last meeting with the Planning Commission. And I personally want to thank him for sharing his knowledge and experience with me and others, and his tolerance of my lack of knowledge and experience. And so he's been very good to many of us, and I want to thank him for his leadership with the planning staff, the Planning Commission, and the City Council, and we want to wish him well in the future. So, Denny, thank you very much.
Oh,
we really appreciate it. We want to wish you well. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Massey. It's really been a pleasure. I've been with the city for 6.5 years, working as a planner for more than 40 years, and in Oregon since I graduated from the U of O in '81, but this is for Commissioner Hemer. I actually worked for Larimer County for 2 years in Fort Collins before coming out to Oregon for grad school. So, a number of, this has been just a great ending to a career, being able to work with the commission and the council, and right now trying to finish up the comprehensive plan, which hopefully the council will approve next Tuesday, I hope.
We're looking forward to that.
All right. Well, thanks a lot.
All right. So agendas and additional copies of staff reports are available on the city website at www.milwaukieoregon.gov. The easiest way to locate them is to navigate to the community calendar where tonight's meeting page is posted. If you've not reviewed the agenda, please do so. It contains important information about the process. If you wish to provide public comment, please log into the Zoom meeting or call into the meeting. Instructions for logging in and calling in are located on the meeting page on the city's website. In order to be included in the meeting record, public comments must be received during the applicable portion of the meeting. That is, general comments must be made during the open audience participation portion of the meeting, and comments on specific public hearings or work sessions must be made before the close of the public testimony portion of the agenda item. Before we review minutes from the past meetings, I would also like to take a moment because as Denny leaves us as a public servant, we have new public servants arriving to help us out. And I want to welcome our two newest commissioners, Adam Korabati, and I'm sure that you can, Adam, you can correct my pronunciation, and Jacob Sherman. And so these appointments bring us back to our full complement of 7 commissioners. And so I would like the commissioners just to, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you wanted to serve. And we'll start with Adam.
Thank you, Chair Massey. Yes, my last name is Khosrowbadi. I know it's a lot. My first name is easy. My last name is difficult. But I wanted to serve. My wife and I actually bought our home here, our first home, back in September. And as I currently work as a football coach at Portland State University. And during this time of COVID, I started getting more involved in my community and how I can help, and started learning more about the city that I live in. And it's kind of just drove me to be a lot more involved and be a bigger part of the overall picture here in Milwaukie.
Thank you, Adam. We look forward to working with you. Jacob?
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair Massey. I'm really excited to be here kind of on the Planning Commission with the other commissioners. I'm a 5th-generation Oregonian. I've lived in Milwaukie for the last 2 years, but I've spent most of my adult life in Southeast Portland, and really love our community a lot. I also have experience working in local government on both kind of policy and programmatic issues kind of spanning transportation and housing and sustainability and environmental issues. And so really excited to take that experience and kind of leverage it towards the betterment of our community. I've also spent time in Portland kind of working as a community advocate. I was really involved in my neighborhood association for a number of years. And so really excited to kind of channel the perspective of community members in this important process.
Thank you, Adam. We look forward to working with you as well. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes from the following meetings: the April 28th, 2020 meeting, the May 12th, 2020 meeting, and the May 26th, 2020 meeting. So I would ask any of the commissioners who have any corrections to make to any of those three meeting minutes. I don't see anyone who has any corrections at this point.
Chair Massey, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as written from April 28th, May 12th, May 26th, all of 2020.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Hemer. And did I hear a second? Who was that the second?
Second.
Okay, thank you so much, Adam. I'm sorry, Commissioner Edge. All in favor of say aye, and all opposed say nay.
Aye.
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 I believe I got an aye from all present, except for Commissioner Loosevelt, who is obviously not with us tonight. The notes are approved as written. Thank you. Are there any informational items from the staff?
I have a couple of items that I wanted to bring up. I already mentioned one of them, that is the council will be hopefully adopting the comprehensive plan next Tuesday night. So that's the culmination of 2.5 years of work on that document with lots of community outreach. And that's the policy document. That's the set of policies that will drive land use decisions and some code changes that are coming up. And over the next year, the city will be working on implementing those policies as they relate to housing, residential parking, and urban forestry. And Vera will be seeing a lot of the community, a lot of the commissioners over that year as she leads that effort. The other thing I wanted to mention, two other things. One is, as I'm leaving, I know the city is in the process of doing interviews. They have 3 interviews set up this week for a replacement for me. Hopefully, one of those folks will work out, and you'll have a new planning manager taking over in early September, we hope. The final thing I wanted to mention was the Oregon chapter of the American Planning Association is holding a training workshop on September 16th, 17th, and 18th. On the 16th, the evening of the 16th, from 5:30 to 7:30, is a 2-hour planning commissioner training session. And we at the city are happy to sign any of you up if you are interested in attending that virtually. It's an online training. If you go to the Oregon APA website, there is some additional information about the program there. But if you're interested in signing up, just email me or Vera, and we will get you signed up and pay the fee. I'm also going to suggest that if you want to attend the entire workshop, we'll happily sign you up for that as well. It's not particularly expensive. It's $15 for Wednesday night, and $40 additional dollars for the day and a half workshop after that. It's basically all day Thursday and a couple of hours on Friday. But just let us know if you want to sign up for the planning commissioner training, or if you want to sign up for the whole thing. We'll sign you up. So email is probably the best way to do that.
Okay. I hope that as many commissioners as possible can take advantage of that opportunity. Anything else, Denny? Any more additional information items? No? Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, I turned my speaker off. No, I don't have anything else. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. There will be an opportunity to comment on items not on agendas, tonight's agenda. If you wish to comment on an item that is on the agenda, there will be time for comments after the staff presentation. I will ask now that if anyone wishes to comment on an item that is not on tonight's agenda, if so, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom to indicate you wish to make a comment. We will also check with any audience members who have called into the Zoom meeting by phone. Before you testify, please remember to state your name and address for the record. Vera, do we have anyone who has checked in via Zoom at this point?
I have 9 attendees here, but I don't see that anyone has raised their hand, and I don't see anything in the chat that indicates that anyone has any comments to make at this time.
Okay, thank you. We will now move on to tonight's public hearing. We will follow the basic format listed on the back of the agenda following the staff report presentation, testimony, and Planning Commission deliberation. Tonight's agenda item is the Milwaukie El Puente Elementary Parking Lot Project. The public hearing on agenda item 5.1 is now called to order. Thump. The purpose of this hearing is to consider application number CSU-2020-005. The applicant is requesting approval of a proposed major modification to an existing proposed community service unit use at 11250 Southeast 27th Avenue. The applicant has the burden of proving that the application is consistent with the relevant sections of the City of Milwaukee zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance, comprehensive plan, or applicable municipal code provisions, and that the proposal conforms with the city's applicable criteria. I would now ask the staff to cite the code sections where the criteria can be found.
Milwaukee Code Section 19.301, low-density residential zones. Milwaukee Code Chapter 19.600, off-street parking and loading. Chapter 19.700, public facility improvements. Section 19.904, community service uses. And Section 19.1006, Type 3 review.
Thank you for that. All testimony and evidence must be directed toward the applicable substantive criteria. Failure to address a criterion or raise an issue with sufficient detail to allow the Planning Commission an adequate opportunity to respond to each issue precludes appeal to the City Council based on that issue. Failure to raise constitutional or other issues related to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient detail to allow a response precludes any action for damages in circuit court. Any party withstanding may appeal the decision of the Planning Commission to the City Council. Persons withstanding are those who submit written comments or who testify during the meeting. At this point, I would like to ask the Planning Commission about any potential conflicts of interest. So do any of the Planning Commissioners wish to abstain from this hearing?
No.
No?
No.
No.
I think I have no from all the participants. Does any member of the Planning Commission wish to declare an actual or potential conflict of interest?
No.
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 I believe I have a no from all of the commissioners. Does any member of the Planning Commission wish to report on any ex parte contacts?
No.
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 I think I have a no from all the commissioners. Does anyone have a rebuttal to the ex parte contacts declared by the commissioners? And this is really for the general audience. Any raised hands, Vera?
Chair Massey, I don't see anyone with their hands raised or any comments in the chat regarding that question.
Thank you for that. Will any commissioner who has visited the site prior to the hearing please raise their hand? Okay. Please keep your hands raised if you would, so I can just, okay, Commissioner Edge. Okay, and so since I'm not live, I have also raised my hand. I visited the site as well. So we've had the 3 commissioners who visited the site. Did any of the commissioners who visited the site speak to anyone at the site or note anything different from what is indicated in the staff report for this application?
No.
Adam? Adam, did you have any contacts when
I'm
you
sorry.
visited the site?
It was Jacob, it wasn't Adam.
It's Commissioner Sherman, whose first name is Jacob.
I'm sorry. I'm still getting used to it. Sorry. Jacob, did you have any communication with anyone during your visit to the site?
No, Chair Massey, I didn't have any communication with anyone. I did have a tape measure with me and happened to measure one of the trees slated for removal.
We will take it on assumption that the tree did not talk back. And I did not have any discussions with during my visit as well. Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the participation of any member of the Planning Commission?
Chair Massey, I don't see any indication of that.
Thank you for that information. We will now proceed with the staff report presentation, followed by testimony from any interested parties.
Going to share my screen, I think. That's the plan. Let's see if I can make this work. Okay. Bear with me, I'm on a laptop, so I'm trying to move everything around on a very small screen. Okay, there we go. Can I get confirmation that folks are seeing what looks like a PowerPoint presentation?
I see it, Vera.
Great, okay. All right, wonderful. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Vera Coley is Senior Planner to present the staff report for this project. All right. The subject property is outlined here on your screen in an aqua blue. It's located at 11250 Southeast 27th Avenue, surrounded by residential development on 3 sides. The existing 41-space parking lot is located south of the school, and in that red circle is the location of the proposed expansion. Beyond the parking area to the south is the Lake Road softball and baseball athletic complex, just a series of ball fields and its associated facilities. The site's located in the Lake Road neighborhood and is right across the street from the historic Milwaukie neighborhood. So the proposal is to expand the parking area, and this expansion also qualifies as a major modification for a community service use. And the school itself is considered a community service use because it's located in the R7 residential zoning district. The expansion of the parking area also requires a modification to the maximum off-street parking allowances per the code. So the proposal itself includes the parking lot expansion itself, where the proposal is to expand the existing 41-space parking lot to add 18 new stalls for a total of 59 off-street parking spaces. And I've indicated where those new spaces or that area is going to go. The proposal includes relocating the trash enclosure to a more convenient location for garbage pickup. I've indicated that with a label as well. A new futsal court is proposed to be installed just north of the parking lot expansion area. The existing ground surface in that location currently is bark chips, and it would be replaced with asphalt in order to provide a smooth futsal playing area. Included in the application is an infiltration trench to the south and the west edges of the play court, and a water quality planter is going to be located south of the parking lot extension. In addition, perimeter landscaping as required by the code will be provided along the north and east sides of the parking lot, and new site lighting has been proposed to match the existing site lighting on the property. So staff's identified a couple of key issues for your consideration as you review this application. The first is, does the proposal to exceed the maximum off-street parking allowance meet the approval criteria for such a modification? And are the impacts of that expansion sufficiently mitigated? So regarding the parking maximum, the application proposes to increase the number of spaces in the existing lot due to a high number of requests by both faculty and parents at the school. Per the code table in 19.605.1, the maximum allowed number of spaces is 2 per classroom. The elementary school has 25 classrooms, so that would be a maximum of 50 spaces on the site. The application proposes a parking lot with a total of 59 spaces, so we'll have 9 spaces extra or in excess of that maximum. Again, the request for the additional 9 spaces over the maximum is based on an existing lack of spaces for both faculty and parents for the school, as well as the opportunity to provide some more parking for the school districts for the ball fields that are to the south of the school. According to the application materials, during school hours, the existing parking lot is consistently full, and which limits the available parking for parents, any guest speakers or visitors to the school. And in addition, during events on the southern field area, it's typical for participants to park in the school parking lot, and I'm sure the Commissioner remembers those hearings for the Lake Road Fields and sort of that idea of the shared parking that would be happening, particularly when the ball field parking lot is full. Again, the expansion was requested by faculty and parents and the school district due to a shortage of parking stalls on the site. Nearby street parking is not practical due to the frontage is typically occupied or is occupied with no parking signs, and there's some loading areas as well right there on the street. So there isn't a lot of on-street parking in the neighborhood in the immediate vicinity of the school. Also provided in the application materials is a comparison of the parking ratios that are available at other schools, both in the county and Ardenwald Elementary here in town as well. And so you can see that even with the proposed expansion or the modification to allow for additional parking spaces beyond the maximum, the parking ratio on site would still be below what some of the other area elementary schools include. Okay. Mitigation of impacts was the second key issue. The expansion is located where there is an existing basketball court. The school's parent-teacher organization has been advocating for the addition of the futsal court, and they have raised money to provide additional features such as goals and striping for that play area. So one of the things that we had thought about was, are we losing outdoor play space by taking up that basketball court with additional parking? While it does displace the basketball court, the futsal court adds about the same amount of play area, so just shy of 5,000 square feet. That is currently underutilized, so it's making an improvement to the site. The old metal play equipment in that area has been deemed unsafe and will be demolished as part of the school renovation project. And per the application materials, new play equipment is going to be installed within the playground area that's north of the proposed court. So additional playground equipment will be included as part of the project. What staff has, when we were reviewing this, it looks like the proposal does mitigate the loss of available play areas on the site by accommodating additional play areas within the area of the school remodel to the north. One of the purposes of the parking lot landscaping standards that we have in the code is to provide a buffer between parking areas and adjacent properties. The proposal meets those requirements for parking lot perimeter landscaping, where the parking lot abuts an adjacent property. To the east, the perimeter planting areas are between 6 and 11 feet wide, so well within, in fact, exceeding code requirements. An evergreen shrub is going to be planted that grows to approximately 4 feet tall along that area, which will help block headlights, which is part of the reason for that perimeter landscaping. And the parking spaces themselves within the design are oriented north-south, so that cars will not be facing directly towards the adjacent properties to the east. Couple of slides just as a reminder what the approval criteria for that the commission needs to consider. The first has to do with the community service uses and the major modification to a community service use. And so we're talking about compliance with any of the development standards in the underlying zone. It complies with the specific standards for the proposed uses, and that's for the schools. We talked about the findings have detailed all of those, all of the compliance standards with these approval criteria. The approval criteria talk about the hours and levels of operation of this proposed use or the school itself, the public benefits of the project, and that the location is appropriate for the type of use. And in the findings, you'll see that staff has recommended that, yes, in fact, the application does meet all of those approval criteria. And finally, we have the approval criteria for the parking modification itself. Has the application demonstrated that the proposal is reasonable based on existing parking demand within locations? And again, the modification itself would be exceeding the maximum by 9 parking spaces on the site. Do a determination that the development has a unique or unusual characteristic, higher than typical parking demand, and per the application materials, that has in fact been stated within the application that both the district, the teachers, as well as the parents have been advocating for an expansion of the parking area. That the demand cannot be accommodated by shared or joint parking arrangements. There kind of already is a shared parking arrangement with the fields to the south, but there's still that there's still the request for those 9 additional parking spaces. And is the requested increase the smallest increase needed? These additional 9 parking spaces take up where, the minimum amount on the site. They're not asking for more than that. They could likely be expanding into the futsal court and, in other places as well for this. But this is, in fact, the smallest increase needed as per the applicant's materials and their request. And they are here, they're attendees on here, so they'll be able to present additional information and answer any questions that you might have regarding the actual proposal itself. The commission has some decision-making options, can approve the application with the recommended findings and conditions of approval that were included in the packet. The staff recommendation is to approve the application based on the findings and the conditions of approval included. You can approve the application with modified conditions and findings, and we'll need to determine those and read those into the record. You could continue the hearing, or you could deny the application with findings for denial. The 120-day deadline for the application is October 21st. And that concludes the staff report. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to unshare the screen and bring us back to the commission. Happy to answer any questions. I think we're back. Are we back?
You might want to leave the site plan up, maybe.
Chair Massey, I have a few questions for staff.
Go ahead, Commissioner Hemer.
So, Vera, remind me, when we were doing this Lake Road baseball field, we were talking about locking the gates in between the, cul-de-sac and the elementary school. Was that when school was open, or was that when school was closed? Or can you refresh my memory on that?
I'm going to jump in on that one. I think it's only when school was open.
Okay. And then, did we, during the Ardenwald thing that we just went through, the changing of the parking lots, did we add more spaces into there? And does that 78 reflect more spaces, or?
At the Ardenwald School? I don't know. That was just reversing the bus take up. It was putting the bus pickup back where it was originally planned.
And they didn't remove or add any spaces, so that number 78 is, I guess I was just making sure that number 78 either included what we did or didn't include, and I just couldn't remember.
I think it's what's there today.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yes, go ahead with your question, Jacob.
Thanks, Chair Massey. Vera or Director Egner, when the applicant came probably before the commission in 2012 around seismic upgrades, was the size of the parking lot a point of discussion then?
Well, neither one of us were here, so we can't directly answer that. I don't know if Vera had a chance to look back at that application.
I did not look at that one. And I certainly, maybe that's if that can be a question that we put to the applicant when they come up. I don't have that approval or that, the minutes for those hearings available to me. I didn't look at those. So please ask that of the applicant when they make their presentation.
Just as a follow-up question, I think part of what I'm curious about is in the findings report on page 14 of the findings report, which I think is page 32 of the packet, it talks about that this is not the result of an increase in the number of teachers, students, or other users of the site. It's not an increase in trips. Oh, sorry, I let go of the mute button. So I'm just kind of trying to understand how we're seeing an increase in demand that's not necessarily tied to an increase in trips.
I think and I'll certainly let the applicant explain this as well. I'm not sure that this was an increase in demand. I think this is an issue that they've had for a while. And since they were already on site doing these various improvements to the school and so on, they wanted to come in with this application as well. I'll let the applicant clarify that if I've misstated that, but it was not, I was not under the impression that the use of the school or anything like that had increased. This was something that has been an issue for some time.
We calculate the use more about on the square footage or the classroom sizes. Vera, you might be able to talk about that. But I mean, the way, unless there's like a square footage addition to the school, we wouldn't consider it to be an increase in use. And I think that could be challenged. I completely agree with that. You could, but I mean, that's the way our code evaluates those things.
Yeah, if I could, through the chair, the code evaluates the parking requirements for an elementary school purely based on the number of classrooms. So the math is that easy. There are 25 classrooms times 2, 50 is the maximum. So it's not including a calculation for administration or, anything like that. It's purely a number based on the number of classrooms.
Or the number of students in the classroom,
right,
or the number of classes being taught.
Right.
Thanks for that clarification. One final question. Would electric vehicle charging be considered a public benefit?
I would think we would want to consider that as a public benefit. It would be something that's anticipating higher increased use of electric cars and having a positive impact on the climate.
Thank you.
Any other clarifying questions for the staff? I don't see any. Have we received any correspondence on this matter other than those items included in the meeting packet? Okay, I will now recognize the applicant and their representatives, followed by the persons participating by phone or Zoom. Following public testimony, the applicant and their representatives will have an opportunity to provide any rebuttals. When you're invited to testify, we'll ask staff to unmute your microphone. Please begin your testimony by stating your name and relationship to the city. For example, resident, business owner, etc., so that they may be recorded in the minutes. When you are providing testimony, please remember to confine your remarks to the application and the relevant criteria and to avoid repetition and irrelevant information. Just remind everyone to be respectful in these discussions, and we can have a difference of opinion, but let's just keep it above board. If additional documents or evidence are provided by any party, the commission may, if requested, allow a continuance or leave the record open to allow the parties a reasonable opportunity to respond. Any such continuance or extension shall be subject to the limitations of the 120-day rule unless the continuance or extension is requested or agreed to by the applicant. So do we have comments from the applicant, or are there representations?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I believe we do. We have Sina. I'm going to bring you up and allow you to talk.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
I can hear you, Sina.
Perfect. My name is Sina Meyer. I'm the project architect on the current renovation project that is ongoing at Milwaukie Elementary School. I'm with Opsis Architecture, and we will also be the firm doing the work on this proposed project. We have a few district representatives on the line as well. We have our civil engineer if there's questions for him. And we have a few community members that belong to the parent-teacher organization of the school who are in support of the project. Vera, if I may ask you to share your screen and go to slide 2 of the proposed plan, that would be great. Thank you for having us tonight. I won't repeat what Vera had already mentioned, but I might provide a little bit of background information on the project, as well as re-emphasize some of the points that were already made. As I mentioned, we are currently in the building working on a renovation project in the small addition. The addition includes new hallways out to a new covered play area. It also includes a new front entry canopy of the parking lot. And so these are other exterior improvements that we are able to undertake, and this extension of the parking lot would really round out that series of exterior improvements. From the very beginning of our conversations with the staff, the parking lot has come up a lot as being tight, as not providing enough space for staff and parents and visitors. And so we've early on carried it as a design alternate, knowing that we may not have enough funding. It turns out we do. And so the hope is that once the renovation project wraps up in September, we might roll into this extension of the parking lot. A few things to re-emphasize is, again, the size. Currently, the parking lot is at 41 spaces. It is tight. We are proposing to add 18 additional spaces for a total of 59 spaces. In terms of play space, yes, the parking lot extension is proposed in an area where we currently have a basketball court. We are, however, providing new basketball hoops under a new covered play as part of the current renovation project. So there will be ample play space there. And then where the futsal court is going is currently an underutilized area. It's just bark chips. There is some old metal playground equipment that will be removed. It has been deemed unsafe. And so we're really adding area for play there as well. And then again, the current project includes the addition of new playground equipment. So I think overall, I think we are really improving the quality of the play space there. And then in terms of the futsal court, I wanted to mention that is a project that the parent-teacher organization has been fundraising for. And so we are actually able to provide the asphalt for them. If the project gets approved and we get to move forward, and they will be fundraising for the striping and the goals and other associated items. So they are definitely in favor of this project moving forward, both for providing more parking, but also improving the play area in general for the school. And other than that, I'm happy to answer some of the questions. There was a question about the previous renovation, the seismic upgrades that were made. I am not aware that the parking was an issue at that point. I think that renovation solely focused on the seismic upgrades within the school. So I think at that point, the parking lot was not part of the conversation. In terms of adding spaces, as Vera mentioned, it has been, ever since we've started talking to the staff, it has been brought up as an issue. It's also, of course, in anticipation of an increase in enrollment that we might want to offer additional spaces. And then the question of the electric vehicle charging station came up. I think that's a great idea. Unfortunately, we are on a very tight budget. It has gone through a round of value engineering already, and we weren't aware of that being a requirement. So our current plans do not plan for a charging station. I'm happy to answer any additional questions as well.
I do have one question. I'm going to jump in. The electric vehicle charging station is not a current city requirement. It might be something that could be considered as we go forward with some of our comprehensive plan implementation work. But I am curious as to whether or not the school district has, and maybe one of the school district representatives can talk to this, has any program to electrify some of the parking at some of the various schools.
I am not aware of a program like that, but I might see if maybe Emil Hamid, who's the project manager for this project, might speak to that. We also have Cindy Detchen on the line. She is the assistant superintendent who might be able to address your question.
Hello, this is Cindy. Thank you. The idea of a charging station on our schools is a new one. Has not been one that is discussed. We have certainly discussed other ways to be more environmentally conscious, and Sina can talk to you a little bit about this project in that regard. I think I would have a concern about safety in terms that we can't control who comes onto our campus to utilize a station, especially during school hours, in elementary school in particular. That would be a great service to the community, but we're very protective of our school grounds, as you can imagine the reasons behind that. So it would be a concern for me that would invite non-school users to a place that would not have any other business there otherwise. So that would be a consideration that I would have, and certainly would need to talk with my board further for any other further consideration.
Cindy, I think the intent would be for the teachers or parents that are coming that drive electric cars.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be a great service to our staff as well, but it doesn't, I don't think once you have something like that, it doesn't deter other people from coming onto the grounds. It'd be a difficult thing to monitor.
Chair Massey, I think you're muted.
You're muted, Chair Massey.
All right. Okay.
There.
Yeah. So do we have any other testimony from the school district itself or their consultants?
I don't see any other hands up. Sina, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I don't want to put anybody on the spot. We do, I believe, have Kelly and Christina from the PTO on the call. So I would like to invite them if they would like to share, to raise their hands. I know that they have also provided written testimony.
Yes.
Yeah, we will get to those in support of the project here momentarily. I just wanted to give the any district representatives or their consultants a final chance. First of all, let me thank the district representatives for participating in our meeting tonight. We always appreciate our partners in education to come to these meetings. We really do.
Chair Massey, if I may have a follow-up question for the district.
Sure, go ahead, Jacob.
Thank you, sir. for the district, I'm curious, I understand and appreciate those concerns around electric vehicle charging stations bringing community members on site. At the same time, I'm having a hard time balancing that with the acknowledgement in the application that this additional parking is bringing other people on site to access the ball fields immediately adjacent to the school. So can you help me understand how kind of your thinking kind of applies differently in those two situations?
Sure, absolutely. That's a great question. The ball fields are not used during school hours. Those are strictly after school hours on weekends, and we can get quite a crowd at some of those events, specifically now that we have all turf fields. And so trying to mitigate parking for that issue and the neighbors surrounding that area has been an ongoing concern for this commission as well as for the school district, wanting to be good neighbors. And so there is really no conflict in the evenings or the weekends for this parking lot. My concern rests solely during school hours, particularly on an elementary school site where kids are out at recess. And if that electric station were to go into the new parking lot, that is directly adjacent to the playground.
Thanks. I appreciate that. That's really helpful. Would the district potentially consider any make-ready type of work? It's my understanding that, installing conduit when you're tearing up a parking lot, even if that conduit isn't used for 5 or 10 years, is substantially cheaper in the near term than in the long term. Might that be something the district would be willing to consider?
I would have to turn that over to our project manager or Sina, who are in the more of the design phase. They understand what those potential costs would be. That is outside of my purview of knowledge, but it's a great question.
I can maybe start to address the question, and Emil, please feel free to jump in. Emil is the project manager on the project. We do have some exterior scope, as I mentioned, as part of this renovation. We are, however, getting towards the end of it, and we have closed up those areas that we have opened already. That would have allowed us to connect back to the building from this parking lot area. So at this point, there will be cost involved in order to connect back to the school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant or their consultants? So do we have anyone on the phone or in the Zoom meeting who wishes to speak in support of the application?
I see a hand up here, and Mr. Chairman, Ben Johnson provided a comment in the chat, which I'm happy to read out for you so that it's on the record, or Mr. Johnson could raise his hand and make the comments himself verbally.
Why don't you read the chat, and then we'll give Mr. Johnson a chance to talk as well.
Okay. He says, "Hi, I live in the neighborhood behind the school. I will attest that lack of parking has been an issue. Teachers park in the streets, which creates a lot of vehicle and pedestrian conflicts, which is a problem for families that live in the neighborhood and that walk their kids to school." And it's signed Ben Johnson, 11470 Southeast 30th Avenue.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, would you care to add anything to that testimony?
Okay, he has raised his hand. I'm going to bring Ben forward. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Yeah, I have nothing more to add than what was stated there. I live behind the school, so a lot of people that live in the neighborhood walk behind the school and access the school with their kids on Madison. And a lot of teachers actually park back there along Madison because there's a lack of off-street parking. So it becomes quite an issue when a lot of parents come from out of the neighborhood because it's a magnet school. This wasn't noted. It's a magnet school, so a lot of parents drive in from various areas to drop their kids off, whether in front of the school or behind the school on Madison. And so having that extra vehicle load with the teachers and administrative staff really creates a lot of impacts in the neighborhood. So I fully advocate for additional parking within the field. And the location that's been shown really does not impact the open space. we're in a neighborhood where, there's a lack of really large parks and open space. And a lot of people use that El Puente field after hours, to walk their dogs, play with their kids. And the way the parking lot looks like in the plan really is mindful of minimizing impacting the amount of open space that the track and the fields provide behind the school. That's all I got. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Do we have any others who wish to speak in support of the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have Kelly Sullivan. Kelly, I'm bringing you forward to testify.
Okay, hello. So you can hear me?
Kelly, you have the floor.
A few blocks behind the school also. So just echoing Mr. Johnson's comments, I did submit a letter in support of the project and talking about the futsal court and the fundraising, which that idea was generated through teachers and staff and students. And we got some support in the community, and the parent community raised money through a jogathon in 2018. So this project's been a couple of years in the making. So if you had any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them. But in addition to this very practical concern around the parking lot, this is a really great idea for the kids, and I think they'll really appreciate this improvement of the space. Even if it takes the square footage down just a little bit, it really does maximize the use of the space. And also just that inclusion of the basketball courts, that was a request in the community that we not get rid of the basketball courts and that we still have that. And so it's just nice that OPSIS was able to include that in another space in the playground, so we're not losing play opportunities or variety of activities for the kids. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Any other testimony in support of the application?
Mr. Chairman, there are no other hands raised in the attendees list.
Okay, I will ask if there is anyone on the phone or in the Zoom meeting who wishes to speak in opposition to the applicant.
There's no one with their hands raised in opposition.
Okay, so we'll ask if there's anyone on the phone or in the Zoom meeting who wishes to offer a neutral testimony.
Again, no hands raised and no chats.
Okay. So based upon that testimony, does the staff wish to provide any additional comments at this time?
I don't think so, Mr. Chairman. I think we will rest our case on what's been presented.
All right. Does any member of the Planning Commission have any questions regarding the testimony up until this point, either of the staff or of the applicant?
I do, if I may ask.
Of course you can.
It wasn't around Milwaukie Elementary, one of those PSAC projects. And so when I'm looking at the current map that is on here, I don't know how up to date Google is. Are those all new sidewalks on Madison there? Or are there planning to be put in new sidewalks around in there?
I'm sorry, I do not know what the timing is of the sidewalk program, the SAFE program.
I might speak to that a bit. I believe that project is wrapped up. That occurred before we actually got into the building. So that new sidewalk connection on Madison that sort of leads behind Milwaukie El Puente, that has been completed.
I don't know who to ask this question of, but I guess, has those sidewalk improvements, since they're relatively new, have they improved the parking situation?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a couple of hands. I have 3 hands raised from the attendees list. Emil, who's the project manager from the applicant team, I'm going to bring him forward to be able to answer this question, and then we can go do it that way. Okay. All right. Emil.
Hi, my name's Emil Hamid. I'm the project manager for the school district. No one's been stating their address, so I'm not going to, although I could for the record, Chair, because normally we have to. Anyways, the Safe Routes to School project that the city was a great partner to the school district in adding both some sidewalk and I believe, and Cena could correct me, there's sort of an ADA ramp that connects them, and we are going to, as part of our project, continue that pathway around the school. Although it provides a great walking path for students, it does not provide any additional parking or alleviate the issue. If anything, it makes it for the people parking on Madison potentially more convenient to park back there and then walk into the school. So I guess to answer your question, Commissioner, I would say no, that there was no benefit to parking from that, but there definitely was a benefit to access to the building. Certainly for ADA access, simply because if you're familiar with the site, there's a very steep approach from 27th up the driveway. So it was a very good project to be conducted, but I don't know if Cena or the other two people want to add to that, but that would be my opinion, that there is no benefit to parking from that project.
Are there others we should recognize to address that question?
There are no other hands raised, but Mr. Johnson did just comment in the chat that all of the sidewalks were new. So I think he was just answering that question.
Okay.
Chairman Massey, I have a question for the applicant.
Go ahead, Jagger.
Thank you, sir. I guess to the applicant, the school district, I'm curious if the school district provides any transportation incentives to its employees, bus passes, tax discounts for cycling, walking, any of those types of things. You know, just recognizing the orange line is but blocks away. This is a pretty well-connected spot from a transportation perspective. Although also recognizing, as the spouse of a teacher, teachers live in many different places in the region.
This is Cindy Detchen, Assistant Superintendent again. We don't currently have anything in particular. When we have had contractors on our sites the last few years for all of these bond projects, we have certainly worked with our contractors to do that, particularly in the downtown Milwaukie area, as this community has been impacted now for over 2 years with Milwaukie High School and now Milwaukie El Puente. So we did work with our contractors to try to do that as well.
Thank you.
So I had one question for the school district, and I'm not sure who to address it to. But my question is there any constraints on the use of the parking lot for people attending events at the ball fields? And I understand that most of these events occur after school hours or at the evenings. Are there any constraints on people using the parking lot after normal school hours?
I'm not sure what you mean by constraints. We certainly have several guidance documents and regulations that we send, for instance, to our opposing school who might be coming to be in a competition with us at a game. We have certain places where the buses can drop off and then go. They're not supposed to park off-site. We have information for them. We try to make sure that the attending team also lets their players' parents know, or any other observers, that they have a couple different places to park. There's signage on the site. And then we make sure that the students from Milwaukie High School do not park on the camp on that particular area during events. They can do that during practices, but if there's a game going on, we ask that they can keep their cars at Milwaukie High School and then walk to the site, or sometimes we have a small team bus.
Well, that's done on the honor system, I'm assuming. I don't hear you saying there's any sort of enforcement or anything like that.
We do have event managers, parking event managers. Yes, when we have, if we have two games going on at the same time, we have an event manager that walks the parking lot, and then there's a phone number posted that the neighbors can call if they have concerns, if their driveway gets blocked in or anything like that. There's a 24-hour phone call that they can make.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, so does the applicant have any rebuttal or any additional comments in response to the public testimony?
I do not.
It doesn't seem that we have any additional comments. If there's no additional testimony offered, the public testimony portion of this hearing on file CSU-2020-005 Milwaukie El Puente Elementary Parking is now closed. Gavel. So discussion by the commissioners. Does anyone want to lead the discussion? So, Commissioner Edge, do you have anything?
I can jump in. Sure, I'll jump in. It appears to be consistent with all of the relevant standards and approval criteria, and so on that basis, it seems pretty straightforward. I would vote to approve at this point. Based on the findings, the draft findings presented by staff, as well as the conditions of approval I included in the packet, I would have no amendment.
Okay, thank you for that input. Commissioner Hemer, you have anything to offer at this point?
Believe it or not, no.
Oh, we'll take it. Amy, have anything you'd like to add? No. Okay, I got a visual no there. Adam or Jacob, this is your first time in, so we don't want to leave you out. If you have anything to add at this point?
Thanks, Chairman.
Sorry, go ahead.
I would agree with Commissioner Edge in terms of it appears to meet all the necessary approval criteria. I think, as you may be able to discern by some of my questions, I would like to see the benefits, the mitigating benefits, kind of go further, and do think that there's a significant missed opportunity here around electric vehicle charging infrastructure. As I think many of my fellow commissioners are aware, the city has an ambitious climate action plan where one of our key strategies is around incentivizing workplace electric vehicle charging in parking lots. And this, I think, is an opportunity when we have an applicant coming before us asking for major modifications and variances to help implement those goals. And while we don't currently have any existing policy basis to act off of, we do have, I think, some goal documents that have been well vetted by the community that I would like us to consider more in the future. That said, I do think it currently checks all of the boxes and won't have any significant issues, and hope the school district would take these sorts of things into consideration in future planning.
Thank you for those comments, Jacob. And the school district comes to us with some frequency. So, yeah, that's something to think about. Yeah. Adam, you have anything to add?
No, I was just going to follow along with Commissioner Edge. It seems like they followed all the requirements, so I would vote to approve.
Okay, thank you. So the chair will entertain a motion at this point.
I would like to make a motion to approve application CSU 2020-005 and adopt the recommended findings and conditions of the approval found in attachments 1 and 2.
I'll second.
Commissioner Edge has seconded that motion.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I have a aye from the 6 commissioners in attendance. If anyone wishes to appeal this decision to the City Council, you must make an application stating the grounds for your appeal within 15 days of the mailing of the notice of decision. If you have any questions, the planning staff can provide you with details. The commissioners or staff have any other business or updates they'd wish to discuss?
I don't, other than to thank Commissioner Sherman for raising this point about electric vehicles, because I think it is something that staff could bring up with folks in talking about, how to prepare a better application that does, in fact, provide a wider range of benefits. So that's, I think I want to try to remember to bring that up with the other staff, so that as they go into pre-application meetings with folks, they can talk about that.
I think that's a great idea, Denny, and maybe I know you won't be dreaming about planning anymore, but
it's going to take a while.
if you guys could look through that climate action plan and look at those little things that we're trying to accomplish and use those as public benefits, that'd be a wonderful idea.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
I'd also add, if I could, particularly, in light of Commissioner Sherman's comments, I think that it's important to know that we have adopted and are in the process of adopting as a city, a lot of new policies, and these policies have not yet found their way into the implementation code. Which is what we review applications against, and it's the approval criteria for these applications. And so the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee, their work is underway. I am the Planning Commission representative to that committee, and we'll certainly take those comments into consideration in the future. And if you have any similar comments you'd like to share, please feel free to bring those up either during a Planning Commission meeting, or feel free to send me an email, and we can make sure that all of the commissioners' thoughts are included as we move forward in that implementation process.
Thank you, Commissioner Edge.
Yeah, Commissioner Edge, I really appreciate that. And I think there'll be some opportunities for us to think about these kinds of things. It's based on kind of my understanding. Like I said, some of the, even just laying conduit is pennies on the dollar today compared to what it'll be 5-10 years from now. And so when there's an opportunity to tear something up and at least put the conduit down, I know that utilities, PGE, for example, are very interested in doing some of that work now, knowing demand will be there in the future.
Do the commissioners have any other items for discussion?
I just want to say that the Blue Ribbon City Hall Committee met earlier this month. It's a group of great people, and I think Scott has laid out a very nice, Scott Stauffer, our city recorder, has laid out a very nice a program for us to follow, and I look forward to attending that and updating the Planning Commission on what our results are.
So this is the committee that's dealing with the future of the City Hall?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
And I can't remember the name of the committee. It's Blue Ribbon something.
Okay.
Has a decision been made on City Hall, by the way? Sorry.
What did you say, Adam?
Was there a decision made on City Hall? Is that what you're talking about? Or
I think that's what this Blue Ribbon Committee is trying to come up with.
The city has purchased the Advantis building,
right,
and will eventually be moving and consolidating operations there. So this is about repurposing the City Hall building itself.
Thank you.
So could I ask the city staff to give us a forecast for the future meetings?
Yes. At this point, we have no agenda items scheduled on the August 25th date. Similarly, we have no agenda items currently scheduled on the September 8th meeting. September 22nd, we do have a couple of items right now, a couple of work session items, commission bylaws update, and the NDA leaders.
And I think you should enjoy the slow time because on the horizon are some pretty, I think, meaty hearings that you're gonna have. One for a new apartment building as part of the Waverly project, or a set of new apartments as part of the Waverly project near Waverly Golf Course, will access along off of Lava Drive. And then there'll be a comp plan amendment and master plan for the hillside development. So those are both going to be applications that will probably attract a fair amount of attention. So I think, enjoy the time off. That's my suggestion.
Can I say one final word, Chair Massey, or may I say a word, Chair Massey?
Please do.
Denny, I want to thank you for the service to the city. I tell you what, there is one way that you can tell that a planning director or planning manager, I don't know if he got demoted or it got promoted, whatever your next title will be.
They've changed the title of the replacement.
So all I know is that you can judge them by the way that the people act below them. And your people are very happy and very willing to help. And we have never heard a complaint from an applicant that the city really didn't try to help them out. And so I want to thank you for your leadership, for the rest of the planning staff, and for your knowledge and your direction that you have done a wonderful job for this city. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot from you. And we butted heads on and off, Greg. But in the end, we're both kind of working towards the same thing, trying to make the place better. So.
Right. Yeah, I still love you, Denny. I'll still dream about you, even though you're gone.
It's been really fun. I've had a great time with all the commissioners and working in the community, a real positive community. It's been great.
So we all wish you the best, Denny. I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Nice try, Amy. I know you tried to get in there.
All in favor? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye, Danny.
You guys.
Bye.